Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
When names like Anthony Joshua are mentioned, they represent more than just a fighter or a moment. They symbolize the idea of what happens when controlled environments disappear, and a boxer is forced to face someone who cannot be negotiated with, scripted around, or protected by clauses, because at the elite level of competition, reality always catches up, and true high-level opposition exposes gaps that marketing and promotion can never hide forever.
Jake Paul's attorney says he was out of state and not at his Calabasas home during that raid today. The FBI says they're investigating allegations of criminal acts for an incident that he's known for being in the public eye. But today, YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas. Sky 5 was over the scene Wednesday morning as federal agents entered Paul's home in a gated community off Mulholland Highway. 24 feds, some in tactical gear, could be seen carrying evidence from the property, including several firearms. After the search, a SWAT team was seen leaving in a procession of law enforcement vehicles.
The instability of this storyline is what keeps audiences locked in, because every accusation sparks another clip, another interview, another denial, and another deep dive, creating a non-stop cycle where uncertainty turns into entertainment and controversy itself becomes the product, fueling attention, engagement, and non-stop debate across MMA and boxing media. And from a pure AVD standpoint, this narrative works because it combines fear, scandal, authority figures, and unanswered questions, dragging viewers forward with the feeling that the next reveal might finally confirm what they already believe or completely overturn everything they thought they understood.
Right, because of the weight differences, the weight difference in there. I only know one man that'll do the weight difference like that, and that's the Bronze Bomber. You know, for me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, you know, of the weight difference, and you know, Joshua is a former, you know, champion, and also, you know, he's current, he's active, you know, and this is going to be the first time that we see Paul, you know, fighting an active fighter. You know, I mean, we seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, you know what I'm saying? It's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional.
At its core, this is not simply about Jake Paul as an individual, but about a larger cultural clash between traditional combat sports values and the influencer era of promotion, where control, virality, and optics can outweigh the raw honesty that once defined elite fighting. And whether Jake Paul ever escapes this cloud over his credibility will not be decided by speeches or social media responses, but by decisions, because if future matchups favor real risk over careful safety, transparency over tight control, and true competition over spectacle, perception can shift. But if the same patterns continue, the audience will conclude that once the illusion cracked, it was never real to begin with.
A couple of hours, there's been some reports about an apparent leaked script. Have you seen this?
Move on. If people think that he's going to do a quick two-step and do this, and this, I hope he just goes out and takes his head clean off with the first punch and lets him know Tommy Fury actually is. There's one interview, and I'm going to name now, Lyndon Arthur, absolute fantastic, that man. I don't read that much on social media because it's all bullshit, but Lyndon Arthur, thank you very much. From me to you, you said something about Tommy being a proper fighter, can really punch, one of the hardest punches he's been in. Now for Lyndon Arthur to go and say that, Lyndon Arthur's a proper hard, tough man, we all know that. So Lyndon, respect, thank you.
In the post-fight press conference, it became clear that in combat sports history, real reckonings are rarely neat or cinematic, and the story lies in that gray area where public perception, whispered doubt, and years of online debate intersect, because Jake Paul's rise was never just about wins and losses, but about how those victories were presented, explained, defended, and amplified until fans began questioning whether they were witnessing true competition or content disguised as combat. When claims of rigged fights emerged, they didn't happen in isolation, as respected fighters like Deontay Wilder openly questioned the legitimacy of Paul's matches, while Oscar de la Hoya voiced what many insiders quietly suspected, and even casual viewers started noticing recurring patterns involving glove sizes, round lengths, opponent selection, and promotional control that felt more like exhibitions than the unforgiving reality of traditional professional boxing.
At any point, did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, like there was a point where, you know, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever. And I could just tell, you know, his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him. And that like violence war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff. But that kind of went away as the rounds went on.
In the post-fight, the narrative gained momentum when Jake Paul himself admitted to easing off at certain points in his fights, a statement that might seem like sportsmanship on its own, but in context fueled doubt, because an elite boxing fighters aren't supposed to manage risk for their opponents, and once that admission spread online, it strengthened the perception that some bouts were paced for show rather than decided by pure competition. Drug testing became another spark in the fire as Dana White's public challenge wasn't idle gossip, but a call for transparency from someone claiming legitimacy, and the lack of publicly released, independently verified test results left a vacuum that critics filled with speculation connecting visible physical changes, historical resistance to strict anti-doping rules, and insider insights into a narrative that refused to fade.
On performance-enhancing drugs.
If taking Viagra counts, then yes.
I'm gonna need a yes or a no.
No.
Lucky you.
Dr. Stuart Fisher, author of Little Book of Big Medical Emergencies.
Medical analyses, social media breakdowns, and commentary from figures like Dylan Danish added fuel to the fire, not because the accusations alone proved anything, but because the sheer volume of voices created an environment where denials felt weaker than disclosure, and every refusal to release documentation became another unanswered question in the eyes of fans. Promotional statements from MVP executives relied heavily on legal jargon and defamation warnings, and while such tactics are standard in high-stakes business, they often backfire in fight culture where transparency earns trust, because threatening lawsuits doesn't convince fans that outcomes are authentic. It only signals that protecting the image has taken precedence over accountability.
Publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you, you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you for the next 2 years. And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid.
Dylan Dennis, who had his own tense history with Jake Paul, shared photos of him online, while Michael Bisping's critique carried weight because it was measured and authoritative, highlighting that Paul's opponents were often retired aging or celebrity-linked fighters, and noting that his only bout against a peer-level boxer, Tommy Fury, ended in defeat. A reality that fuels critics who argue that true legitimacy can't be claimed without consistently facing prime-hungry professionals.
It up wants to do testing. And he wants to do a set date before the fight. Okay? So he did the cycle, he did whatever, and now he's going to try to take a piss test and clear it and be like, oh, I'm clean. That doesn't count. Okay? It doesn't count. With the money that he has, you can have a doctor clean your system in over 24 hours. Cheeto Vera just went on that podcast and said, you know that. So him doing this is another scam that he does. He's a bullshit artist. He just lies. Everybody knows he's on juice. He's admitted taking peptides. There's doctors that have him in the office saying we're giving him peptides on their website. So like, it's just bullshit. And I don't even care about the steroids thing. It's just like, what are we doing here? He has every advantage. He gets to pick the refs. He gets to pick the fucking judge. It's like, come on.
Dylan Dennis, who had his own contentious history with Jake Paul, posted photos.
The FBI raid storyline added yet another layer to public perception, because even if charges are dropped or matters remain unresolved, repeated brushes with controversy shape what people believe, and in the fight world, where reputation carries as much weight as record, every headline piles onto the impression that chaos seems to follow Paul wherever spectacle meets profit.
There has never once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant it would take max 2 rounds to knock out Jake.
In the public eye, but today YouTube star Jake Paul is making headlines after an FBI raid at his home in Calabasas. Sky 5 was over the scene Wednesday morning as federal agents entered Paul's home in a gated community off Mulholland Highway. 24 feds, some in tactical gear, could be seen carrying evidence from the property, including several firearms. After the search, a SWAT team was seen leaving in a procession of law enforcement vehicles.
Speaker One's argument is not that every fight Jake Paul has been involved in is fake, or that every accusation against him is true, but that the entire architecture surrounding his boxing career seems meticulously constructed, from the selection of opponents to the way each fight is promoted and framed, creating a controlled environment where fans are encouraged to believe in authenticity without ever being provided the evidence that would normally justify that trust. while Anthony Joshua is forced to navigate grief, loss, and trauma that no legal ruling, headline, or public statement can ever truly resolve. Voices like Gerald Miller, Johnny Nelson, Eddie Hearn, Tyson Fury, and Duke McKenzie highlight the human stakes behind what might otherwise look like mere spectacle, reminding us that tragedy, survival, and accountability shape athletes' lives far beyond the ring and that public perception. Driven by clicks, outrage, social media debate, speculation, and commentary, can define reputations and narratives far more quickly than court outcomes, showing that in modern combat sports the collision between legacy and entertainment carries real consequences, and that recklessness, lack of transparency, and prioritizing spectacle over responsibility can leave permanent marks on both the fighters involved and the culture of the sport itself, underscoring that true accountability requires reflection, humility, and a recognition of the human cost behind every headline and viral moment.